Yes, welcome to the No State Project live from the fortified compound here in Mesa, Arizona. This is episode 129 of the Wednesday broadcast, and it is October 2nd, 2019. October 2nd already, 2019. A lot of stuff to get to. Glad to be with you here. We got to have some people. I guess there's nothing I can do. I don't have a monetized YouTube channel, so I don't think I'm necessarily going to get any resolution on them not the fact that most people are letting me know that they don't get a notification when I'm going live. So I guess you got to have a big channel that's monetized, that's actually making YouTube money. Maybe you can get around that. Who knows? I'm not going to say I'm being sabotaged because it's not much of a channel to sabotage. But I'm glad to be with you here. Glad we do reach the people regularly that we do. Those who want to think for themselves, want to think apart from the tribe, actually being a skeptic and questioning things. That's what we like to do here on the big broadcast every twice a week on Wednesdays here from 3 to 4 Pacific Standard Time, and on Saturdays, we've been pretty damn regular here, pretty good, pretty regular. Saturday is 1 to 2 or maybe 1 to 3, depending on how things are going that day and depending on how many calls we got. You're selling a product, Mark. You got to market it better, brother. Hey, there's no amount of marketing that's going to make this into one of the premier channels. We have a very difficult subject matter over here. And I understand that. I get that. It goes against the grain. But if you exercise basic principles of logic and you clean the slate like a true skeptic, and you don't try to impose your predeterminations or your beliefs and opinions and inject them into the facts, and you just let the facts speak for themselves, it's pretty good. Someone, Stuart, speaking of, I don't remember, I think you're in Scotland. Tomorrow, was asked to be a guest on the Irish Patriots channel, and that is going to go at 8 p.m. tomorrow. I don't. Is it GM? Is Ireland on G? Is that GM? Well, let's just say it's Ireland time. 8 p.m. Ireland time, which is noon if you are on the West Coast in Arizona. So we will be doing that. I believe it's a live stream, and we're both going to be on the video there. So looking forward to that. Yeah, guys, definitely check it out. He gets a lot of views for a little channel. So I'm looking forward to that. If you want to help support this small show, you may do so, and it is appreciated. It's markstevens.selz.com. That's Selz is SELZ, Zulu. So it's markstevens.selz.com, and then there's markstevens.net, which you can not only support the show, but if you are being attacked by a bureaucrat, I got a good bureaucrat to talk about here. We'll get to that in a second. But if you want to learn how to more effectively defend yourself in a proven way, I'm not saying that it's earth-shattering. I'm not saying that I came up with the Socratic method, but we do things different in that we're challenging the foundational claim of the prosecution or the accuser. So what I refuse to do, which is why I'm an anarchist, is I refuse to accept that any of the claims made by the accuser are that they're true. They have to be verified. So that's the idea of wiping the slate clean and looking at it like a skeptic. It's not true until it's proven. It doesn't matter who the accuser is. It doesn't matter how common, how popular, or how steeped in tradition the foundational claim is. It is not immune from challenge. And you're on the right track when someone accuses you of something, especially politically, that, there was this obligation created and you didn't fulfill it. When you question him on that, on the facts to actually prove by a preponderance of evidence or even beyond a reasonable doubt, depending on where you are, when you ask them, or even a prima facie, I know, oh my gosh, non-lawyers using Latin. But when you back them into a corner and they don't have any facts, they don't have any logic, they're just spewing what they were told. They're just repeating what they heard somebody else say. They don't have any facts. They can't possibly prove it. Then they start arguing as somebody with a prison system will. I don't have to have evidence. I don't need it. I don't need it. You need evidence if you want to show that I'm wrong. I did a whole video about that. I actually did pretty good numbers-wise. Got a lot of views. How prosecutors try and basic, politicians in general, they like to flip the burden of proof. Confront these people directly on their claim, and they try to flip it. Well, do you have any proof that that I'm wrong? Okay, do you have any proof you're right? So what I generally will use is as my proof, like I've done so many times with the IRS and tax officials, but the franchise tax board is a big one. So just use their statements against them that they admit it's an assumption. We're going to be talking about Amber Guyger. I think someone's got an update that I'm not aware of. If you want to join me on the big show, it's 218-632-9399. 218. I hope that's not coming through. I'm going to have to reject that. Hopefully that didn't come out over the air. If you want to join me, you have to call 218-632-9399. 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020 with the pound sign. That's 2020 with the pound sign. Use your Skype to call that. You cannot just call into the live broadcast. I'm not going to just, I don't want to just go to the other computer and do that. Just that's what we got here for today. If somebody wants to join me on Skype, we got to do that before the show. I used to be able to do that when I was live streaming on LRN.FM. And what I'm doing now is just the podcast is played. I'm in the podcast loop. But when we had a commercial, then I could shut things in and I could go onto the other computer and I could do that because for some reason I can't use the one computer here for my caller line. With the Windows machine. The Mac, no problem. The Mac handles it, no problem. Much better operating system than Windows. So before we get to the news, dealing with a bureaucrat, we're doing a property tax issue again in Arizona, and I love the confidence that you can destroy so easily with these tax agents, these honorable, treasurers. So we're dealing with a county, so and it's really easy to knock them off their pedestal. I mean, really easy. And yesterday, boy, again, it's this individual, this woman had some experience with me, so she shut down almost immediately. And I'm trying to get something in there. She knows. Don't answer this schmuck from Long Island's questions. Just don't do it. And so I started asking, you know how I do it? The foundational claim. She still answers the foundational claim is true. Look, if the property is physically in Arizona, the laws apply and create these obligations and give jurisdiction to assess and collect the tax from you jackasses. Okay, that's the way. She agrees to this. Obviously, this is going to be where the problems start. Now, I expect people and I encourage people, of course, to be a skeptic, that I'm full of crap. So a lot of what I'm going to say is very similar to what I've already done on Call of Shames. So if you doubt it, you can not only go to recorded calls that I have, but if you doubt it, and you should, we all should, there is nothing stopping you from picking up the phone and calling a tax agent and running them through the same questions. And in fact, if you want, you could email me at markstevens@mail.com. I'll give you the questions. You don't need, I'll type it out, but you could just take it off the video here. You got to get them to confirm that is their foundational claim. That just because you're physically in Arizona, wherever the hell you happen to be making a call from, whoever you're calling to, Get them to confirm the foundational claim. Now you just got to start asking questions to get them to prove that that claim is true. So you can go right for the jugular. Knowing in advance, there's no possible way your physical location can prove that a written instrument from 150 years ago or more not only applies to you, but creates obligations. It creates obligations. This is where I think that the critics, the handful, not even a handful, half a handful of critics that just keep going, well, Mark, you're stupid. The law is different. The law is special. There doesn't need to be evidence. They can claim the law applies. They don't need proof. Well, you know how I feel about this. That is the beginning of a conversation with a con man. I don't need any proof. It's true because I said so. Oh, it's true because you're willing to use force. You got a prison system. So those who have a prison system can argue, oh, I don't need any facts. I don't need to prove it. You need to prove. You've got to have it. Where's your proof I'm wrong? Con man. And at the even if you want to look at that in a good or a better light, they're at least so woefully ignorant on basic principles of logic that they're not qualified to be making these determinations, which is a very common admission that we get from them. So then you ask them for the facts to prove that that's true. What facts do you rely on to prove it's true? Now, she knew me, and so she already went into defensive mode. And she said, well, Mark, again, I am going to have to refer you to county counsel. You'll have to speak to my lawyers. So I'm trying to resolve a problem here. I don't want to just be having someone kick the can to somebody else. So we got to remember that they're just trying to distract and divert. We got to keep the damn focus, the burden of proof on them. And I'm telling you, if you keep the burden of proof on somebody who's talking out of their butts, they're going to get, understandably, going to get a little upset. Especially when they're used to people just taking the orders and following them. So she puts the burden on the county attorney. Now, I've already spoken to the county attorney, and he's already admitted there's no evidence. He doesn't care. But my interest here is to keep the focus on the people, the accuser, who actually made the legal claim. So that's why I bring her back. I said, well, again, you want to ask a leading question. Whenever possible, ask a leading question. Yes or no? Well, did the county attorney make this legal claim and send it through the mail to my client? I know there's like 4 attorneys that are like, oh, how dare you use the word client? That's only for attorneys. Yes, attorneys have their market cornered on the word client. So the question, again, I'm sorry to do that. The question is, did the county attorney make these legal claims against my client and send them through the mail? She said, well, they were made pursuant to state statute. Does that answer the question? Does that tell me if the county attorney is the one who made these legal claims and sent them through the mail? Mr. Stevens, as I said, you will have to do this. You'll have to speak to, with my attorney. All I'm trying to do. Now, does that sound like good faith to anybody? At least, I know I believe I'm acting in good faith. But does that sound like the state tax agent whose office made this determination and sent it through the mail, or because we have it in writing, her name is on it? Does that sound like they are acting in good faith? Does somebody act in good faith if they refuse to answer simple questions based on an accusation that they made? They made the accusation. They're the ones who initiated this. They sent a letter through the United States mail making claims that they have a right to a certain amount of money from this man. And when I asked just who made I even asked her point blank, did your office, yes or no, did your office make these legal determinations and have them sent through the mail to my client? Yes or no? Mr. Stevens, as I said, see, that's the thing when you know you're talking to a drone who's just been ordered not to talk to you, someone who is not even close to exercising good faith, is when they keep repeating the same thing. Mr. Stevens, as I said. Yeah, but your attorney didn't make these accusations. You did. I've got your name on it. Are you telling? Did you not? Is this document not what it purports to be? Did you send a false document through the United States mail? Is your name not supposed to be on here? Are you not aware of this? Of course, it's like talking to a brick wall. Mr. Stevens, as I said, you will have to go through my attorney. I mean, come on. And they think that you're not accomplishing anything. Well, what we're doing is we're getting evidence that, one, they can't support their own legal conclusion. Two, we're getting evidence of bad faith, and we're going to get institutional bad faith. We're going to get a pattern of bad faith because they won't even take ownership of the legal claim that they made. Now, if it was such an easy thing to do, if it was just so easy to prove that the laws apply, if you could prove that legal claim, if it was so easy to prove that, why do they almost, at least at this county level, always refuse to even acknowledge they made the legal claim? Well, because if they acknowledge they make the legal claim, they have to answer questions to it. It's called the burden of proof. So I keep asking again, I'm being nice. Why would I have to speak to your attorney when your office made these decisions, made these legal claims? And that's when it comes out. I have been instructed, or I have been advised by counsel, that any of these types of calls, I am to put you just through to my attorney. So I don't take, hey, come on, one of these. I said, what do you mean by one of these types of calls? And she said, well, the type where people they claim that the laws don't apply. And I said, well, hold on a second here. I said, did I make any such a claim during this phone call or any of the phone calls we've had? She don't want to answer the question. I said, don't you think it's a little disingenuous at best that you're trying to avoid answering a simple question, and then you come out and you're trying to paint me as some kind of sovereign citizen, or, sovereign, one of these Freeman patriot types? I never made such a claim. That's true, right? This is not one of those calls, is it? Of course, she doesn't want to answer. Mr. Stevens, as I said, you'll have to go through my attorney. So she took my name and number, and the two of them were supposed to call back, and they didn't. I remember last year we were supposed to get a conference call with the tax agent and the county council. So after speaking with this county attorney who couldn't provide any evidence either, I said, well, we need to set up a conference call. No, it's not going to happen. Well, all right, well, maybe after, if a claim against the county's risk management, against their insurance for damages, if that's not settled and it goes to court, well, there's I would say there's a decent chance we can ask the tax agent that question under oath, just like we're going to pull you in on with a subpoena, and we're going to question you also. Well, why wouldn't you have set up a conference call to resolve this? Oh, because the argument's frivolous. Again, for those who may be new to that, if you get that, remember, a frivolous argument is totally lacking in merit, doesn't controvert the points, the opposing counsel's points, or the other argument, and 3, it has to be brought in bad faith. So the two big ones are no merit, bad faith. So always ask them, do I have my facts wrong? Are you disagreeing with me as to my facts? I wouldn't think they want to just go out. No, that's what your whole thing is frivolous. Well, are the facts wrong? So remember, the argument is based on a set of premises, facts, and a conclusion that is drawn from those facts. Are my facts wrong? See, that's one thing you got to notice when somebody is criticizing. Or if they throw out it's a frivolous argument, are they disputing that the facts are wrong? Because if they are going to, let's say they want to turn around and they say, well, the facts, yes, your facts are wrong. So you didn't say that on this day. Let's say they say, well, your argument, your conclusion is ridiculous. Well, the argument is not like I was accused on the phone yesterday. It's not the laws don't apply. I'm not saying this. What I'm saying is when that they confirmed that their operating presumption was, or their foundational claim was, if the property is physically in Arizona, the laws apply and create obligations and give them jurisdiction of the tax. When I asked them for the facts, they admitted they didn't have any and that it was an assumption. So my conclusion is, based on those facts, they can't make their case. It should be abated because it's not fair. And then there's a whole laundry list of again. So that so what part of that is wrong? What friggin' part of that is wrong, people? So it's not lacking in merit, and it's certainly not brought in bad faith. Somebody on the phone telling you when their name is on an accusatory document, when there's a legal claim on that document with their name on it, and you ask them, did you make this legal claim? And they say, no, you'll have to speak to my attorney. That is your bad faith. That is what I believe is presumptively an argument lacking in merit. And the bad faith is there. Not even going to take ownership of that. So before I get to the phones, this is the last few years. There's been some really shocking things that happen. I actually would, I would. And I would love to see, for the first time in United States history, a sitting president not only get impeached, but have the Senate convict them and remove them. It's never happened. I'd love to see that. The chaos that is going on. And it was one thing for Slager to go to prison, the one who shot and killed a man running away, and then covered up the crime while he was being recorded. They couldn't convict him at the state level, but the feds put him in prison. He pled guilty. It's very rare for cops even to be charged, even though some of the most egregious cases, like with the Philando Castillo. Eric Garner, holy crap, murdered on video. Amber Geiger shot and killed an innocent man in his own home. Botham Jean. Stunning that she was charged at all. Still not the same. She still went home. She wasn't charged at the time. She wasn't questioned. But they actually brought murder and manslaughter charges against her. She went to trial these last few weeks, and she was found guilty this week. I guilty of murder. She had testified that she thought she was at her apartment, and her first instinct was to shoot to kill, not get away, not shut the door and call backup. Immediately to shoot to kill. If there was a white guy of the same build, would she have done that? I don't know. It is shocking. Now, they have to sentence her still. And so one of her defense is the Castle Rock doctrine and the stand your ground, that she was in such fear for her life, that the law allows them, when their life is you feel that your life is in imminent danger, that you can empty a clip in someone's chest. However time she gets, it's still incredible that the prosecution didn't throw this. They had, from what I read, the prosecution was pretty intent on getting her to admit that she intended to kill. And I got to tell you, I'm no attorney, Why in the world was she testifying on behalf of herself anyway? What attorney would put in a murder trial their client on the stand? She buried herself from what I read. I don't know. I think that's I think that was a mistake, but hey, I'm Monday morning quarterback in here. But hey, I thought all the evidence that was there showed she was guilty of killing an innocent man and deserved prison time. So yeah, the castle doctrine is only if you are in your castle, woman. Yeah, she's got to be in her own. She thought she was in her own castle. And what it comes down to is, you know, and look, before I get into that, you can't forget that the Dallas police tried to smear the victim that he was some kind of drug dealer. Oh, an innocent black man was shot. We got to spin this for the cops. All the cop suckers. Cops don't do any wrong. That's why when they kill an innocent man or they go into the wrong building, and don't kill them, if they're brown and poor, then you see these headlines about, well, they executed a warrant on the wrong man who had no outstanding warrants. No, he was an innocent man. You don't have to say he had no outstanding warrants. You tried to go after somebody and you made a mistake, a big mistake. But I guess one of the takeaways for these corrupt police, these dishonest cops, is that if you're going to kill an innocent man or woman or child, do it on the clock. Do that. Do your crimes on the clock. And if you're going to be a criminal while you're on the clock, remember, there is a line. Don't steal from the company. They don't like that. They will prosecute you for that. So, all right, well, let's get, we got the Amber Geiger. Remember that the Jeffrey Epstein situation should not be going away. I know there's an awful lot. This son of a this guy should be he should be removed, and before his heart explodes and he finally dies and this world is rid of one of the worst people, can just at least indict him. And I would love if he could get convicted in the Senate and thrown out of office, that they can publicly say, Mr. Trump, you're fired. He might just keel over and die right then and there. And good riddance. I can't believe that people actually leave. It's YouTube, but still leaving me comments about I'm wrong about Trump. Oh, please. It's reported here, MotherJones.com. An actual conspiracy kept Jeffrey Epstein's accomplices out of prison. With 4 little words, the government granted immunity to Epstein's co-conspirators. Why? Now, again, Acosta was U.S. attorney who stepped down as the Commerce Secretary, doing a perfect job. Just great job. The best. Wonderful. Couldn't be better. Stepped down. It is reported that he claimed to, that Epstein was above his pay grade, that he was intelligence. You can't prove that statement. What we do know is that Acosta violated federal law and did not tell the victims of Epstein's victims that he was giving them there was a no prosecution deal. And part of the deal, the United States also agrees that it will not institute any criminal charges against any potential co-conspirators of Epstein, including but not limited to Sarah Kellen, Adriana Ross, Leslie Groff, or Nadia Marsakova. They pled down child trafficking, child prostitution, and they gave immunity to potential co-conspirators. Why? Oh my gosh. and Acosta is still walking free. There should be another investigation, obviously, into why Acosta did this. Potential co-conspirators. My gosh, if you're poor or brown and you get stopped in a car and one person has pot, you're all going up. Everybody's going to jail. But if you're rich and you're part of the ruling class, the U.S. attorney will give potential co-conspirators in child prostitution and trafficking. That's all. Yeah. So please, we got to keep this current news. Just ridiculous. So imagine the few things that, the harmless things that we do, that we could be accused of doing. And they throw the book at you. Trump wanted the Central Park Five as children, still that even though they were falsely convicted, even though DNA proved that they were absolutely innocent, he still wanted them executed. And yet, Alexander Acosta gives a sweetheart deal to a child molester and child trafficker and gives blanket immunity for any potential co-conspirators. Oy vey. This is, oh yeah, but I'm the dangerous guy. Okay. We got to get to the calls. Oh, we've got inverted area codes. Looks like we've got somebody from my neck of the woods over here. We've got area code 480. What's your name and what part of the valley are you calling from?
Well, my name's Colton, and I'm actually calling from Salt Lake City. I just moved here from Queen Creek a few months ago.
You moved from Queen Creek? Oh, that's not too far from me.
Yeah. I was born in Tucson, but raised in Mesa, actually.
Oh, all right. Yeah, it's a great place to live.
Yeah, I like it. I miss it some days, but it's pretty nice up here in Salt Lake right now, so I'm not missing it too much.
Yeah, well, you enjoy it for the next few days.
Right.
It's got to be snowing there again real soon. So, but what can I do for you today?
Right. Yeah. So, I was issued a traffic ticket a few months ago, and I sent in a motion or not a motion, I guess, but a discovery request via mail to the courthouse. They forwarded it over to the prosecuting attorney. The attorney replied with a discovery request, but basically the only thing that was in the discovery request was a scanned copy of the ticket and nothing else really. So I motioned for limine because of the lack of proper response to the discovery request, and then a motion for dismissal. And then from there, basically, I missed the initial arraignment after sending a motion for continuance because the physical letter that they sent me bounced back because they had the wrong address. But I rescheduled the arraignment. And when I showed up for the rescheduled arraignment, the judge treated it as a motions hearing without ever me being arraigned or without me ever entering a plea or anything like that. So we went through that whole thing, and it was a complete mess because my mind was just not understanding that I wasn't at an arraignment, because this is the first time I've fought a traffic ticket, because I didn't know about any of this kind of stuff until I moved up here, and my friend Jamin turned me over to you and showed me all this stuff about the Constitution and all that. And so I was just, they rocked my boat pretty much is what happened. And so I wasn't picking up on things that I look back now and I'm like, oh, I should have realized this is what's going on. Okay. But anyway, they treated my first appearance in court as a motions hearing. and basically set a trial date. And so I guess my question to you is like, what do you think my next step would be from here? Because he denied all of my motions, obviously, because even though I questioned, jurisdiction and valid cause of action and all that kind of stuff, and pretty much stuck to, those talking points as much as I could. In the end, they're just like, yeah, you have a trial and this and that and the other.
Okay.
And so I am curious as to.
All right. Well, there's a lot to get to here.
From there.
Okay. When you said that they gave you a copy of the ticket, did you get a copy of the front and back of the ticket that the police officer filed?
Yeah. So, I mean, the ticket that the cop gave me that I signed, yeah, that's the original, I guess you would say, or my original that I still have.
But wait, did you get a copy of what the police officer filed, the front and back of it?
Oh, that I'm actually not 100% on. I know that it's in my email, but I'm not at my computer at the moment. Certain signal's really bad in my room, so I'm outside.
Yeah, I could tell you're outside. You see, because and this is one of the 5 success story videos that I saw 5 success stories I need to put in a video. There was somebody who called the show and he followed up because he got the back of the ticket, and because that's part of the discovery request. We want a copy of the front and back of what he gave the court.
Right. So I know I have the front. I'm not 100% about the back.
You probably don't have the back because what happened in this guy's situation, and his ticket was tossed out, there was a note on the back of the ticket to the judge. And that is ex parte communication. He's given information to the judge, keeping it from the defendant, and it's not something he can defend against. And judges have in the past rightly tossed these things out. There was one that was on the news years ago. They were, it was quite embarrassing for the police and the prosecutor. I'm sure they still do it, but I have it in there because I know that police officers are putting notes. They're communicating ex parte without, they're giving, it's one-sided communication between the police or the prosecution and the judge. Mm-hmm. And you don't have that and you can't defend against it. So you gotta, that's why you have to just not just edit the light editing for the discovery request, everybody. There are things in there that we have to bring out in our motion in limine if the prosecution or a motion to dismiss for misconduct, if the prosecution is withholding exculpatory evidence or they're withholding evidence that the judge has that you don't have. And so
and that makes sense. And that's the only thing that the judge didn't completely rule out was my motion of limine, because he said that I didn't have specifics about the discovery request in there for him to be able to really completely dismiss it. So I guess he was kind of on my side in a way on that end.
There were specifics. One of the things in there says specifically front and back of the ticket the police officer filed.
Oh, okay.
It's that you can't get it specific. So I may not be a lawyer.
Well, that might have been in the discovery request, but I don't know that was in the motion of limine. I don't think that I had included that in the motion of limine.
Well, yeah. So you have to know what the contents are. What are we looking for in the discovery? The things that we're asking for are very important. So the motion in limine is just a template. So some of the legal arguments may be the same, but not all the facts are going to be the same. So sometimes you may act, it may be benign. The cop may not have written a note on the back of the ticket. So it's not a big deal. But there are other things. Sure. And so that may not be something that's included in your motion in limine, but somebody else would have. Yeah. So we have to keep that in mind. And so when it came to
definitely, I'll go back and review that for sure.
Right. Good. And because you need to prep for trial. And I check.
Well, see, that's the thing is that sorry to cut you off, but the thing is that because I never entered a plea, I never actually was at an arraignment. My question to you is that something that I can use against them? Because I called the court clerk today to try and see what was up with that. and she said that I might be able to do an arraignment over the phone. And if that's the case, then I can just go back to the whole jurisdiction thing and take that route rather than going to trials.
Well, you can start. I
So
would go in.
I'm
I would
curious
want to
on
do
that.
it face to face. Well, yeah, I guess if they can, since you're not traveling very far, yeah, if you can do an arraignment over the phone,
It is, yeah. It's a 4.5-hour drive.
Whoa. Okay, so yeah, then
Yeah,
yeah,
I live in Salt Lake now, but it happened in St. George on the freeway.
yeah, but St. George is so much nicer at this time of the year than Salt Lake. I mean, I'm
Yeah, it's pretty
serious.
nice. But yeah, if I don't have to drive back down there again and I can get this taken care of over the phone, then
Oh, sure.
yeah.
That's good. But you want to make sure that you do. And I personally would file the motion to dismiss again. I would file it as a motion to reconsider and show that there's
Right.
nothing in the record for this shows that the prosecution had sufficient evidence to overcome the motion. It was just denied arbitrarily. And if you get an arraignment, if you're able to do that over the phone, that would be great. But I would, if they're not going to rehear the motion, then when they ask me to plea, what I would say is, well, I intend on pleading guilty if the prosecution has set forth a prima facie case. If they have sufficient facts to establish personal jurisdiction and subject matter jurisdiction,
Right.
we'll rock and roll and get this off the docket today.
And that's something that I brought up in my motions hearing, and I got him to say some stuff. I put him into a corner a couple of times.
Oh.
Like they basically said that there's state code and the state code gives the jurisdiction, and the only evidence that we need is that it exists. And I have that, straight from the judge's mouth and the prosecuting attorney's mouth.
Did you object and say, I know it exists,
Yes,
but where's the evidence to show from the prosecution? Where's the evidence to show it applies and gives jurisdiction over me just because I'm physically in
right. And I said that, and basically I was like, where's the evidence? Has the prosecuting attorney presented any evidence that the constitutional laws and the constitutional laws apply to me and that there's jurisdiction over me? And that's when the judge said that we don't need evidence because you're contesting jurisdiction. You need to bring evidence. And I go, I'm not making a case against myself. I don't need to bring any evidence. And then probably some other stuff. But yeah, so I objected and I was like, no, they need to bring evidence because they're the one that has the claim that I violated it.
Right. What you want to do is, as a leading questioner, you don't want to make a statement. Objection. Doesn't the prosecution bear the burden?
Yeah, see, and that's where I messed up there. As I was like, I got rocked a few times during that motions hearing, just because I was like, I didn't know that I was in a motions hearing until like probably halfway through.
Okay, and if this is your first rodeo, and look,
right.
For everyone listening, you can't underestimate and just think that just because he's a traffic court judge and lost. He's in the, that's the furthest the guy's career is going to go, or a prosecutor at that level. These guys are professional litigators. You have to prepare and assume that while they may lie every step of the way, we can't assume they're
and that's
stupid.
what ended up happening.
They lied every step of the way.
Yeah, because like I said, I cornered him a few times. I was like, "Who's the injured party?" And then the judge was like, "The state and the citizens of Utah." And that's when I said, "Well, if the state is a party to the case, they can also be the prosecutor and the judge." And then they were like, "Well, the prosecutor is the town of Apple Valley." And so I was like, "The town is the state. You can't. There's no differentiation between the two. It's all the same EIN." And they just were telling me that I was wrong and this and that and the other. And at some point, I didn't say anything, so they moved on to the next point, I guess.
Yeah, somebody's saying
stuff like that happened where I cornered them a few times, but I was just, you don't
want to use
a push back, and
right. Yeah. So just like we said, and for those who are planning or prepping to go into court, we don't make affirmative statements unless it is to point out that the prosecution hasn't met their burden. So we always want to put it in the form of a question. So when it comes here, like, you can ask the judge flat out, who are you acting on behalf of today? The state? Yeah. Well, Isn't the prosecution also here on behalf of the state? I mean, I do have the paperwork. If you do it in the form of a question, it really backs them up. So if you look in government indicted, Vin James over there in England, he did that just by asking questions and made this woman crazy. Exactly how can you be independent of the crown when you're literally on pay? You're literally representing the crown right now. You just said. So the questions are always going to be a lot more effective to box them into a corner. Sounds like you did pretty good in your first, your first time out, and now based on what we're talking about, there we can focus what you need to what you need to focus on in order to do better. If you get a telephonic arraignment.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like go and double check the discovery request that I was sent for the backside of that, and then. As far as that part goes, and then for the arraignment, would I just go back to that kind of, okay, well, try and challenge jurisdiction and, or, do the plea of guilty or intention to plead guilty? Have they provided any evidence that the constitutional laws, like just basically go back to what I was doing in the courtroom, but have more conviction and don't back down when they're threatening me? I personally would refile as a motion to reconsider the arbitrary denial of the motion because it was based on a lack of evidence and the record does not show that the evidence is there to overcome the motion. And that's how I would start that. All right. They denied me a court reporter. So the only thing that I have is an audio recording that the court does. Do you think that would be helpful for me to request?
If you got an audio recording, that's great. I mean, in a traffic court, they're not going to have a court reporter. You're going to have, if you want a court reporter, you're going to have to bring one and pay for it. So,
okay, fair enough. But I guess I just am curious if that would be something that you think would be helpful later on if this doesn't get, dismissed or thrown out here within my next motion to reconsider or dismiss.
It's important to have a recording if you got a good recording. The thing was with a court reporter, you want to make sure whether you get a court reporter to do it or you have a recording that a court reporter transcribes. You have to make sure that your court reporter that the court recognizes, because we lost an appeal up in New Hampshire a number of years ago because the court reporter was not one that was within the vendor list, whatever they called it, in New Hampshire. So they weren't debating. There was no objection to the veracity. The prosecutor just didn't like the court reporter that was used. I mean, what a stupid. Anyway, I gotta. Yeah, it's up to you if you want to spend the money. This is the traffic thing. If anything, just like I said, make sure either way you do it, make sure the vendor is approved by the Supreme Court so that you don't have that kind of argument. But I've got to get at least one more call in, and we got an update thanks to somebody the prompt on the chat. So any other questions, call or email me, and we'll make sure we get you through it.
Right. So real quick, sorry, I just want to make sure. So the arraignment that I do over the phone, if it comes to that, I should just go back to the jurisdiction and valid cause of action and stick to those talking points.
I would go to the challenge of personal and subject matter jurisdiction. That's the way I would handle that.
Personal and subject matter. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Colton. Colton in Salt Lake, formerly of the Valley of the Sun. And real quick, before we get to San Jose, oh my gosh. I gotta say, Amber Geiger sentenced to 10 years in prison for murder. I got to tell you, though, the fact that she was convicted and is going to do 10 years in prison, that's a step in a right direction. So we got Larry Krasner, who's firing prosecutors and overturned false convictions. And here we got a prosecutor in Dallas that actually convicted a killer cop. So 10 years, yeah, that's ridiculous. You could get more than 10 years on pot charges. Jeffrey Epstein only got a year for child trafficking. So 10 years is horrible for a murder, killing a man in his own home. But because it's a cop, believe she's a former cop now too. Yeah, former cop. So that's good. So we can't. It's not. We got to take. I mean, that is a big step in the right direction. Hey, Brailsford got away with killing Amanda Mesa with your effed on his firearm. He got away with it. Amber Geiger didn't, so it is a step in the right direction. Rick is asking me if I got your email. I don't know. I have to take a look at the email. I get a lot of emails. Well, I'm going to try to get another call. Looks like we've got San Jose area. Area code 408. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Area code 408. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from? It's a funny way to just listen into it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're probably going to mute that up. And I'll just wrap up the show here. Just to get back to this guy, I mean, think about 5 to 10 years ago, would Amber Geiger have even been charged? I mean, they even had that Baltimore gang. Those police, they went to jail. So I like to think that this is a trend. And I could be wrong. Somebody's saying here, she murdered an innocent man, destroyed evidence, demonstrated racist views, and was effing her married boss. F you people giving her sympathy. I don't know who's giving her sympathy. I wouldn't think that anybody in my chat was. I've got no sympathy whatsoever. My sympathy is with the family that, yeah, it's some kind of closure, it's some kind of justice, but they have to live with the fact that their loved one. I don't even know how you come back from. I don't even know how you even deal with that. Waking up or getting a phone call that one of your family, a la familia, mia familia, that is morte. He's been killed. I don't know. Your family can't possibly ever recover from a murder like that. And then have it broadcast on the news and then have the police go and try to smear your loved one. I don't think anybody here has any compassion or any sympathy for Amber Geiger. She deserves to be in prison the rest of her life. And you got people like Jeffrey Epstein who are given no prosecution deals. Well, Mark, that's trial trafficking. It's hardly the same as murder. No, it's not. But you got a serial offender who is involving really, really high-stake people. Prince Andrew, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Bill Richardson, Alan Dershowitz. Bill, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky Clinton. 26 times. So I don't know why someone's saying maybe he's just responding to people in the news. I don't know, but we don't have any sympathy. At least I don't have any sympathy for Amber Geiger. So I like to think that this is a step in the right direction. Like with Larry Krasner, where you have prosecutors who tend to be vile people, at least at the federal level, like, oh my God, in traffic court. My gosh, Alexander Acosta. I can't get over this. And if there was nothing wrong with this plea deal, why did he even a federal judge had to rule that was illegal. That's why it should have been tossed out. The United States agrees that it will not institute any criminal charges against any potential co-conspirators of Epstein. Oh my gosh. And as an anarchist, I'm the dangerous one. We're the dangerous ones. How dare you tell people, how dare you to have people, question and defend themselves in court? Well, people can make up their own minds based on the evidence. What we do here at this show is to present more evidence, more context, and tactics to not just take things that are handed to you. I can imagine what would be unearthed with a legitimate investigation into the Acosta Epstein non-prosecution deal. I'm sure that is far worse than trying to get foreign help in an election. Child trafficking, child rape, a no prosecution deal. Wow. There's your ruling class for you. There's your damn ruling class. So, at least we've got some good news. Some good news. A bad cop is going to do some damn time finally. Finally. So you got to give credit where it's due. The prosecutor really went after her like a prosecutor should, brought out the facts, and the jury unanimously murder. Well, there's someone in my apartment. I think I'll throw the door open more and shoot him for, a number of times in the chest. If I came home and somebody was in there, I'd get the hell out. I won't go storming in. So I think there's a lot to that story that has not come out that we don't know about. It's speculation. But we rarely get all the context. So that I'm sure of. Someone's saying here, minimum 40% the sentence served. She won't do more than a year. I don't know. I don't know. They're going to appeal, I'm sure. So who knows what the appellate court will do. It is a cop. And boy, judges love cops. So, yeah, it's just, we'll have to take it. All right, my name is Mark Stevens. We're going to have to go. This has been episode 129 of The Big Show. Will be available at markstevens.net and always here recorded on my YouTube channel, No State Project. If you'd like to be able to help support the show, and this has been episode 129. Wow, 129 Wednesday shows. It's markstevens.sells.com. That's SELZ, sells with a Z. markstevens.sells.com and markstevens.net. And if you are being attacked by bureaucrats, someone making accusations against you, you want to learn how to effectively defend yourself. And the proof is in, the evidence is there. And many of us, many of you have replicated the success. And go to markstevens.net. Check out the archives of the show. We have scripts available and motion templates. And we also, hopefully, maybe tomorrow I can get back into Discord and we can do the role-playing thing, which is very necessary. So, again, appreciate everyone tuning in today. I will be live on the Saturday show, so whoever I may have missed today, I will get you on Saturday. So till then, salud.